Tattoo artists of Reddit, what are the worst experiences you've ever had with a customer? My buddy used to have this artist guest spot at his shop. So one time when I was getting tattooed, he told the worst tattoo story I've ever heard. So the artist lives in a rural town, and not many new people come looking for work. One day this old lady comes in and asks for clown makeup tattooed on her face. The artist says no for obvious reasons and she leaves. The next day she comes again. This time it's only a new artist working. This younger guy at the shop was hurting for cash at the moment and agreed to tattoo the clown makeup on her face. Little did he know that the lady had a severe mental disability. A few days later detectives show up at the shop asking about the woman and the encounter with her. Turns out after she came to from her episode and realized what she did, and she healed herself. Tattoo apprentice here. Not me, but my boss. Had a guy come in who wants his whole big dig and gonads transformed in a dragon. Boss agrees to do it for a ridiculous price. Like $1,000 for what would take 3 hours or so. Ends up tattooing him in the private room at our shop. But of course everyone in the shop is dying to know how he accomplished it. Basically, when you're tattooing, one hand is running the machine with the needle and the other is stretching the skin tight. But like, how do you stretch big dig skin? Did he have the guy get a boner or what? Turns out he had the guy stretch it out himself. Like he spent 3 hours yanking his big dig first one way, then the other. So my boss could tattoo the whole damn thing. Then batweening out his nuts. His original thought was for the guy to have a hard on. But he couldn't keep it going while it was getting jabbed with a needle, obviously. Now our shop refuses genital tattoos and that's why. Well, I'm sitting here waiting for a lady to come in so I can fix a wrong date I put on her. She looked at the stencil before we started. Had her triple check everything like I always do. Had her boyfriend check it. The works. Got a text this morning saying the year was wrong. So this has got to be right up there as far as worst experiences go. A friend of mine worked in a tattoo shop but he was the piercing guy. A couple came in one afternoon and she wanted her hood, actual part to be pierced instead of the clit, pierced. Nothing unusual about this except that my buddy said they must have just finished having sex in the parking lot and homeboy finished all up in there. As soon as she got in the chair it started to ooze out and got on their chair. They were not so kindly asked to never return. My boyfriend is a tattoo artist. And one returning customer came in for an infinity symbol made of infinity symbols. Yeah? I don't know either, but one of my favorite stories is actually from the owner of the tattoo shop. Guy came in asking for an American History X type swastika tattoo on his chest. The artist agreed to do it. But before he would tattoo on him permanently, he made a deal with the guy. He told him that he would draw it on him in Sharpie. And he would have to walk down the street shirtless in order to get the work done. Turns out, he never did the tattoo. Obligatory, not a tattoo artist but an old friend of mine was the local tattoo shop's worst client. Friend wanted a best before date that said his 30th birthday. We convinced him not to get an expiration date tattoo. The shop didn't want to do it but after much persuasion and a huge price tag they did. On his birthday he gets into a huge motorcycle crash and loses use of his legs. They have sworn off any tattoos with an end date in the future or any tattoos implying death. Including live fast, die young etc. They have a large sign in the shop about this. Not the worst but I had a couple come in. The girl had just turned 18 and the guy looked late 30s. She said that he was going to pick whatever he wanted for her to get tattooed on her. He chose to have his name and then owns me written across her lower stomach. Nowadays I'd turn that sheet down but this was when I'd first started tattooing. I was working in a real scumbag shop where my boss was just a massive money grabber. So I didn't really have much of a choice but to do it. So she's getting the tattoo done. All the while he's saying about how they're coming back the next day for him to get a nickname on his neck, Princess Bobby. He keeps going out on the phone. And when he comes back she was going, I know you're talking to other girls. Don't lie to me, and he's just laughing in the most cocksure way. Towards the end she looks at him with big puppy dog eyes and goes I love you and he just replied I know. Safe to say he never came back for Princess Bobby. Tattooist for 7 years. Retired in 2009 for careers closer to my degrees. These are common, vaginal big dig anus requests. Unhygienic everybody. Design Nazis. And stereotypical white girl tattoos. People who run out mid-session. Drunks. Assholes. Worst experience. Had to work on a 40-year-old autistic woman who had a fit about needles. And people touching her. Fun times. She kept moving and freaking out. No solid lines at all. I did my best to conceal the moving mistakes but she absolutely loved the whole new turtle. I understand the client's limits but her caretakers were the worst people ever. To 20-something medical workers that went behind the shop to do coke and smoke weed I know because they offered. Couldn't tell which was a nurse or social worker but after we were done, the caretakers decided hey, let's go in the bathroom and try to duck. So me and the client are getting to know each other. I'm surprised she was willing to talk and socialize with me considering how the session went. Music changes in the shop. 10 seconds of loud 6 noises. Client says. They always have fun like that in front of me. Heart drop want to beat both their asses. Caretakers get done. Girl has jizz on her scrubs. Guy has the largest wet spot on his pants. And they both stank like weed sweat hot garbage. Client gives me the biggest hug ever and all I feel is hate towards the caretakers. Edit. Wow. Didn't expect this kind of response. Thanks for the gold. You guys are beautiful. I am not a tattoo artist. But apparently someone on Instagram who is has posted the wrong number on their advertisements. Because I've been getting a number of messages every day on my mobile asking for tattoos to be done in the Baltimore area. I'm a student. Studying Chinese. This is very frustrating. That's my tattoo story. Think for me. It was when I had a small name in on someone's back. She told me at the beginning she was prone to fainting and she stated it on her consent form too. I nonchalantly brushed it off and told her she'd be fine. I get to the last letter and she asks if we could have a quick break because she felt lightheaded. It was around Halloween at the time so her friend brought in the pumpkin bucket of sweets we had out in the waiting room. I thought she was just leaning forwards to have a look at what goodies were in there. But instead it was more her doing a Luigi style torpedo forwards off the chair onto the floor. I luckily sprinted around and caught her before her head hit the floor. She had a small fit and came around about a minute later. Whilst on this subject, don't worry about anything like that if you are considering a tattoo. Like embarrassing yourself or whatnot. It's not a nice experience for us either. If they are reputable artists, you'll be in safe hands if it does happen. Not an artist. But one time I was getting a tattoo and overhead some mother walk in and start screaming at a tattoo artist for tattooing her daughter who was only 15. Apparently the girl had a fake ID that was pretty believable. But I'd like to think any artist is going to hesitate before inking future MRS. Justin Bieber and a portrait of him on any young looking girl. My artist told me about the woman who could only be described as the screamer. Screamed during the entire tattoo. Didn't want to stop. Just wanted to scream. How the cops weren't called is amazing. Let's see. There was the woman who got a butterfly by her navel who screamed directly into my ear canal. The guy who wouldn't stop price haggling. Attempting to pit me against the owner. Trying to get the other artists to undercut me. For a solid hour. That's a normal behavior but he took it to the extreme. The girl who farted in my face. The guy who passed out while I was still drawing on him. My 110 pounds has had to catch this 6-foot Air Force dude. That fireman's catch works. Get some across as that was bigger than me. But the worst are the ones who need to make sure everyone in the shop is looking at them. They scream and itch and moan. And every time when I'm done they say they did well. No. No you didn't. Lol. Husband is a tattoo artist. He worked in Hollywood for a few years at a very popular shop. Anyway. He had a porn star come in to get a tattoo of a garter on each thigh. She wore a skirt. Appropriately. Anyway. For about 2.5 hours every time she moved. He said he got hit in the face with dead fish smell. He visibly gagged a few times and brushed it off that the maticide smell made him sick. You. Maybe not the worst but the most recent odd thing to happen. This kid was having a really rough time and kept moving. And I told him to knock it off and stay still. I think he was on some drugas because he was acting really strange. But to keep still he tensed up and just started chanting take it. Take it. Take it. Take it, and it was really uncomfortable. I was about to tell him he had to cut that out too when he finally decided he had adequately taken it and stopped. I'm not a tattoo artist myself. But a guy that I know had some woman ask him to tattoo freckles all over her face. He disrespectfully declined. Honestly, there's a niche market for facial tattoos like permanent makeup, freckles, etc. But they should be done specifically by people trained for that sort of thing. I think it would be pretty irresponsible to ask any old tattoo artist to duck up your face. My mother-in-law just had her eyebrows tattooed. She didn't tell anyone she was going to have it done. Not even her husband. And she had them do these big, thick, dark brows that are nothing like her natural brows and don't really suit her face. I was like, are those permanent or temporary? I'm still hoping they used henna or something and I misunderstood that they are permanent. They look awful. Now we're all telling her how nice they look and I'm afraid to speak up. Because she seems very happy with them. But damn. I hope they fade a little over time. Mistakes all around. And the face is one of the last places you want mistakes. This was my friend. Tattered and piercings up the wazoo and never tipped a soul. People have no idea how hard artists and piercers work for their pay. If I love my artist and really appreciate what they've given me, I'll tip 50% because I want them to want to do work on me. Story told to me by my artist while I was getting tattooed. Guy and girl come into his shop and ask to get a tattoo on the chick's back. A couple minutes into it the lady starts squirming. The artist asks her to sit still. Couple minutes later she starts squirming again. He says, if you don't sit still I can't finish the tattoo. She says, it really hurts. But there's something that might help. Artist says, do whatever you need. Just sit still. So, she manages to stop squirming. And it's a while before the artist notices her head is bobbing. He looks up from the tattoo and this chick has her boyfriend's big dig in her mouth. He finishes up the tattoo. They pay and leave. A week later the artist is at a pool hall. And he recognizes the guy. They make small talk. And he asks, how's your girlfriend's tattoo healing? The guy says, girlfriend? That was the first day I met that crazy itch. I haven't talked to her since. Ariel the Screamer. I was piercing at a shop and my friend was an artist. She was tattooing this chick who just wanted a basic piece, some stars and swirly sheet with her astro sign mixed in. It was a decent size piece like the size of my hand and it was on the back of the calf. Spot is a little twitchy but nothing terrible. Apparently not for Ariel though. She was containing herself for about 1.5 minutes then just straight scream sobbing. My friend kept asking if she just wanted to stop but Ariel was adamant that she continue. I have never heard anything like this chick's crying screaming before in my life. If it had been a horror movie I would have said she was overacting. Other clients came in to get piercings and junk and they had to take a break during those times so she didn't scare them away. It was the most stressful tattoo she had ever had to do. Tattoo artists know that inflicting pain is an inevitable part of the job but she felt like she was literally torturing someone for like 2 hours. Probably longer if you count all the breaks they had to take. A total chow. She had to have a strong drink after that one. Not an artist. But after one of my tattoos, 3-hour session, the artist asked me if I could come back the next day for a picture. I agreed because why the hell not? It turned out great. And if the guy wanted a picture for his portfolio, then I was more than willing to help him out. So jump to the next day when I get there. He starts cleaning off the tattoo on my forearm to make it look clean for the picture. That's when things start to go a bit weird. I straight up passed out from the cleaning. Fell head first into the drywall. TLDR. Passed out from the cleaning. Not from the actual tattooing. Not me. But the guy I get tattooed by. Big guy comes in. Says he wants the tat out logo tattooed across his throat. Tattoo artist has to diplomatically explain that it's something he's not really interested in doing. Whilst cheating himself. Thinking the guy's gonna take it badly. My uncle got a tattoo at the age of 16 that he currently regrets. I asked him when he realized that it was a bad idea and he said when the guy stopped a few minutes into the tattoo. Crushed an OxyContin on the table and snorted it in front of me. Small guy here. Not artist but fun story. 18 years old. A buddy went through a bad breakup and decided to get a tattoo while depressed. Tried to talk him out of it. But he insisted. And insisted I drive. Whatever. We get there and he has the tattoo planned out. Outline cross on right bicep. I have a couple of tattoos so I think that's easy. In and out. Right before they get started friend says. By the way. I'm phobic of needles. He ends up having a seizure like blackout right when the artist starts. Artist just says. He's gone. Catch him. Calm as duck. I catch my friend as he's falling off the chair and the artist just says. Hold I'm still. Takes 2 hours for a 30-minute tattoo. I'm embarrassed. But the artist just says. You should have seen the 300-pound biker yesterday. Try catching him. People are weird. Was working on top floor of tattoo studio. Tattooing a bloke early one Saturday morning. He goes pale and says he need to pee, quickly point him in the direction of the bathroom. 10 minutes later get worried he has passed out on the toilet. It happens. Go to walk down the stairs. Notice a super gross stench. Look down at the stairs and see tiny little piles of diarrhea on each step. Guy has shit himself on the way to the toilet and run away. Never saw him or his money again. Thank God for apprentices. When I was a senior in high school I worked at a large shop and basically just cashiered. Cleaned. Ran to the back to get sheet for the artists. And kept customers out of the work area. Also did some distracting for the people that had no business getting them. Anyway, one day I was talking to this chick that was getting a shamrock of some sort on her arm. And I was in convo with her because she was nervous and sheet, so I engaged her mind off the needle a bit and told her your puppy dog is looking great so far as a joke. Well. She jerked hard and freaked and the artist drew across the shamrock because of it and the tat was basically ruined. I stopped telling jokes for the rest of my senior year working there. Nothing too bad, just one screamer. 2 smelly people and a girl that was touching herself thinking I didn't know. I actually didn't know, but I was wearing my GoPro and I got most of it on there. It was quite surprising editing the video and finding that. My friend has a Monster Energy tattoo on his forearm. When he shows it to people they say yeah you could cover that up no problem. Recently got my foot done. And because I'm a nosy ducker and was trying to distract myself from the pain I got a story out of the guy that inked me. It was a mother-son pair. And the son wanted a tattoo on his stomach. The artist printed the stencil and slapped it on his stomach and not good placement. The mother was complaining. Attempt number 2, not good placement. They were getting loud. And the mom was making sexual comments about her son, that looks so hot. And the third stencil got placed on. Still not good. They were getting rude. With every stencil they just got louder and meaner that the guy kicked them out. First and last time he had to give someone the boot.